How are you, Dominators? Hopefully you're fine. Finally, we are back yet with another base layout video. Yesterday I uploaded the German version, so now let's today come to the English version. And over here we are already. It's about a medieval age base layout, and ordinary I would not give you that much of deep information, but I think if you are watching this video particularly, you will with a very high chance not be a space age or digital age player. So if you're watching a video for medieval bases, you will most likely be a medieval age player, so playing for only a few weeks, and so your experience should not be that high. Therefore, I will give you some more detailed information about why and how in particular things are like they are, and I decided to build this base layout like I built it. In other cases I would not give that deep information. For all which are just simply here to copy the layout, just now start for it. For all other ones I have some very important information before the explanation about the layout itself can start. So first, it is about the amount of buildings which are available. And for the amount of buildings, I made a list for myself, and I just went to DomiNations Wikia and searched out for the maximum available buildings within the age we are talking about. So currently about the medieval age, and the numbers I found was 2 bastions, 113 walls, 6 gates, 2 depots, 4 garrisons, 3 mortars, 2 ballistas, 5 towers, 1 stronghold, 70 pieces of road, which I have not included over here, but I will talk about later, 2 caltrops, 2 ambush traps, 3 mines, or not mines, but spike traps, I think they are called. So I included all of this. So probably some of you may have not done all of the research to get all of these buildings and traps and whatever, but it makes no sense to make a layout without whole integrated research. That's the first point I wanted to talk about with you. The next point is about your clearance of the forest. So obviously you can see I've cleared a lot of the base and only some forests are remaining. But with each age you are getting more forests to clear as in capacity, and if you are in the medieval age you don't have that much capacity to clear that many forests. So you have to decide and prioritize which forests to clear. I can definitely recommend to you clear the forest in a square shape or even in a rectangular shape, but not just simply randomly, because this will give you earlier or even later on some problems by building some base layouts. That's the first way. The first recommendation. The second recommendation, build your layouts in the really center. So if you don't have in particular a layout which is definitely focused for and aiming for making enemies attractive and attack from a special side, if you don't have such a layout, which only a very, very little amount of players have, and you won't find them very often, you should build all other layouts in general in the very center of the base. I even haven't done this with this layout, but that's simply I missed to do it. And if you now want to rebuild this layout, just build it in the middle of the base. How can you build it in the very center of your square shaped area where you can build and where no forest is? Just get in one of your buildings and place it in the very, very right or even left corner of the square shaped area which is available for you. Then take another building, it does not matter which one, and locate it in the very top or even in the very bottom position of your layout. And now just build an ongoing line with other buildings which are just following, oh no, here it's not possible, which are just following the lines which are getting created, so that you can get some kind of grid, and where both lines, so such the line going from the very right to the very left side and the line from the very top to the very down side are crossing, and where those are crossing, the center of the base is, and this should be right over here somewhere. Now, where the center of the base is, there you should locate your storehouse for your trade goods. Then you are perfectly able to build, or nearly perfectly able to build this base layout in the very center of your base. Another important point from my side, this layout is not what I call the best layout. It's simply a layout I constructed for myself, and all experience I gathered so far from my 5 years in DomiNations got into this layout, and it is not there to be being copied one by one by each one of you. Just put your adapt it and improve it to your own demands. So see what you probably need by your own, and just adapt it to that. So probably put the town center not at the right side, but at the bottom side or at the left side. There could be different motivations. For example, many players will, why ever, attack for the town center in medieval age because the bonuses are ridiculous low, but some players nevertheless are doing this without any reasons, just simply they want to get some stars. And if you place your town center at some points and try it out to see what is the result, you'll see that a lot of players actually will attack from the side of the town center. And so you have a little method to steer, or to steer enemy attacks and decide where they will attack from. That's one point. Just put the town center wherever you want. Next point, the gate locations. Gates, ordinary, are used to have some entrances within your walls where enemies are unable to pass, but your own defenders are able to pass. So the most intuitive way of locating your gates would be to make a very straight and uncomplex way for your own defenders to cross your own base. But there are two very good methods to use your gates. First, it's the intuitive way, the more conservative way I talked already about, to make your defenders approach your own base easier. The unconservative and more uncommon way of placing or locating your own gates within the walls is to prolong your own walls without any direct function of the gates, like I have used them over here. So the result you are getting from this is making the movement and the ways of your own defenders approaching your own base more unpredictable for enemies to attack. And the AI, so the artificial intelligence of enemy troops attacking your base, in some cases will fail. So, for example, enemy ranged infantry, which are focusing for your own defenders, will focus for the defenders, follow the defenders, which are now not straight and logically running through your own base, but very irrationally following the entrances you have left inside the walls, and so running inside a mortar, a cannon tower, a tower, and decimating their own numbers. Another recommendable aspect, if you have enough space to clear, so if you are able, or if you already have cleared the forest in a square-shaped area and you still have some forests to clear without having to enter the next age, you can probably think about clearing a lane at very 6 o'clock, like you can see it over here in my case, where you can clear the forest and just deposit one building. In multiplayer it's not that important, but for Worldwar purposes, the building just on top or at very 6 o'clock often is overseen by enemies, so they don't see them, don't attack them, and it costs them valuable time. In some cases it costs them even the 5th star for getting 100% destruction for your whole base. Another aspect about my base over here, you don't see any necessary buildings such as economical buildings. It's not hard to place them, just put them anywhere. They don't have any defensive matter in the medieval age. So therefore you will only see the defensive buildings placed over here. Also have not placed any road. Decide for your own whether you want to connect it to the town center and gather some road bonus. Another point is the town center is exposed. Many players will know why this is in fact, but ordinarily most players are getting told by the game, protect your town center, it's pretty important. Actually, it is not important. You have to focus for yourself what is my aim and what I want to protect. And most obvious, or the most obvious answer is protect your resources, because the resources are deciding whether you will do some progress or whether you won't do any progress. So protecting the town center will only save you some medals, but the question is, what are the medals for the hell bringing to you? I mean, whether you have 300 or 50,000 medals, there is no single function for you except for the fact that you are getting above 2,800 medals, which will mean that you get high league bonuses. But let's be honest, guys, there are digital age players, and you won't have any chance to get to 2,800 medals. And there is a specific algorithm in the background I don't want to explain over here, because it would last more than 30 minutes. The only thing I can tell you is, in more than 99% of each case in the matchmaking system, you are getting matchmade to enemy players which are one age above you, the same age, or the age below yourself. So if you are getting really high in the medieval age, you won't find any bases anymore, because all other medieval and gunpowder and classical age bases are way below yourself. So each base you can crush will bring you just only about one medal to collect, but if you are getting crushed by some enemy, you will lose about 40 medals. So the higher you get, the more harder it is to stay over there, and all of the medal range, which is really, really attractive because you are getting some high bonuses, is that much far away that it has no sense to approach it in the medieval age. So the logic we can derive from this is, don't protect your town center, just put it to the outer side. It makes no sense to protect it in the medieval age if you are not having a Worldwar layout, and we are talking about a multiplayer layout over here. At least we have a maze layout over here. So probably you have asked yourself why there are some entrances and some places within the walls which are not actually closed. No, this is not without purpose, this has a purpose. I could easily have closed those walls, and most intuitively you would have those walls closed. But if you don't close these walls and leave some gaps, the artificial intelligence of troops which are attacking your base often is getting tricked. So if the enemy is rallying, troops are searching for themselves whether it's more sensible to break the wall which is closest to them to get a straight way, or even they are searching about whether there are already some gaps they could use. So let's think about, you have some troops already broke a hole inside the wall. Now they are staying really close to the wall and you are rallying them in. If they would not search for open gaps already in the wall, it could be that they are standing next to a gap, but nevertheless killing or destroying the wall directly in front of them just to find the most straightest way. Therefore, they are searching for gaps. If you are now having a maze layout which has some on purpose left gaps inside the walls, you can trick enemy troops, because if the enemy is standing in front of the walls and rallying for a building, his troops will in many cases not do what he intended to do, to go straight for the building. They will search and follow the path you led for those troops and will take a really much longer way, while time is ongoing and the enemy attack is prolonging. Also, enemy defenders or your own defenders can attack the enemy troops, and your own buildings can shoot at the enemy troops. So you will harm the enemy by letting some gaps inside your walls, because rallying is getting much more dangerous for enemy attackers. But now we have done all general information and already talked 30 minutes. Let's get right into the building or the base layout and explain each thoughts behind. First, the bastions. Bastions are really strategical buildings due to the fact that they have high hit points, and they are, if you destroy them, they will relieve rubble, which is slowing down enemy troops. So most of the battle obviously will be located in the very centrum of the base. So if you have your bastions over there, you make sure that enemy troops are getting most delayed as possible. Also, there is a nice trick with bastions due to the fact that we have some optical illusions. If you are setting some walls next to the endings of your bastions, there will be an optical connection and you see that the walls are connected to the bastions. But if you're having your walls at sideways to the bastion, optically there will be a gap. But in fact, there is no gap. They are directly closed like all other walls which are connected to the bastion. So each wall which is directly next to a bastion is connected to it, no matter whether you can see a gap or whether you can see a connection. But for enemy troops, this will look like a gap. So it's unpredictable in your own base where are actually gaps and where are actually no gaps, which makes it harder to approach. Next are the gates. We have already talked about the gates are located in my base in a very unconventional way, and but this is something which has proven over the years. Decide for yourself whether you replace them and locate them at some other locations. Tank depots and garrisons, I have placed them in a way so that they are all getting boosted by the Acropolis. You can see, we will talk about later on. The mortars. Mortars are pretty strategic buildings due to the fact that they have high range and they have splash damage. So they are very efficient, or not efficient, effective against a huge bunch of enemy troops which have low hit points, such as infantry and ranged infantry. They are really ineffective against enemy cavalry because they are solo troops with high hit points. So therefore we have the Ballista Towers. Ballista Towers have only one shot, no splash damage, shooting really slowly, and therefore they are really effective against enemy cavalry, but ineffective against a bunch of enemy troops. Therefore we have to care about that mortars and ballistas can work together to protect the other equal one against its weaknesses. So the mortar protects the Ballista Tower from a bunch of enemy troops with low hit points, and the Ballista Tower can protect the mortar from enemy cavalry. So you have to place them, or you should locate them together that they can protect each other. The Ballista Towers have low range, so you should place them more to the outer side. That's why I decided to get the mortars very inside of the base and the cannon towers next to them. But we have some sabotage tactic which is able to delay, or not delay, to sabotage your defensive buildings. And my intention was to locate the mortars to the most central position inside your base, but nevertheless avoid that enemies can sabotage more than one mortar with only one sabotage. If you have closed them really close together, one sabotage is enough to sabotage all of these mortars. Now if you place them like I have placed them over here, you have to use one sabotage for each mortar to get it delayed. Let's talk about the towers. The towers are just randomly placed over here. Towers they are really moderate, they don't have any weaknesses or strengths, so I decided to place them inside the walls. If you are a huge fan of placing them outside, feel free. The stronghold is equal to a mortar. It has way more hit points. Way more hit points, but I think, I'm not pretty sure, slightly less damage. In total, you can compare it to a mortar in its function, and therefore I've located it to the very 6 o'clock side. If you want to place it anywhere else, just feel free also to relocate it. It's not that much important where to have it located. As next building, we are talking about readouts we don't have. The roads I have not connected, but the traps. I have bunched or located all of my traps within entrances of the base. If you have those little entrances inside your maze layout, you can steer and control enemy troops because they are bunched up if they want to enter your base and using those entrances. And if you have some traps inside those entrances, you maximize the effect of the traps because you are harming more enemy troops. At least I have my market and mills. And at the market and mills, I can always only recommend to you, spread them out. I mean, it's like investing in some kind of investment depot. If you have all of your investment depot just within one chamber or within one share, you can get great interest, but you can also get great loss. So don't put all of your resource buildings within just one chamber inside your base, because if this chamber is entered, anything is getting lost. Therefore, spread them out. I have spread out 2 of them to the very northern side and 2 of them at the very southern side. And also I have decided to not get both mills at the top side, but to have 1 mill downside, 1 mill upside, 1 market downside, 1 market upside. You can just easily also change the location of your trade good storehouse. If you are more focusing for the national trade goods, just put it to the very center, otherwise put it to the outer side. If you are more focusing currently for gold, just put gold in the inner side. You can decide depending on your own demand. At least we also have the command post and the world wonders. The command post is sensible to locate it inside the base when it has a lot of loot inside. If you're active in the World War and the capacity of the command post is outreached, there is probably a lot of loot. But if you are collecting it from the command post, there is no loot anymore, so you can also locate it outside. From defensive manner, it's sensible to have the command post located within the walls if you are British, Chinese or Korean nation, because the unique nation troops are getting from the command post to defend your own base, and ranged infantry are really, really nasty to defend your base. Infantry such as the Roman unique troops, the German and the Japanese are completely ridiculous, and even more are the French and the Greek ones, because there are coming some tanks which are absolutely no threat for enemy attackers. So if you are British, Korean or Chinese, rethink locating the command post within the walls. If you are any other nation, feel free to put it to the very outer side. Now let's come to the world wonders. I have chosen for the Colosseum and the Acropolis. The Colosseum only for the strength of the gladiator, otherwise it's not very important where to locate it due to the huge range. The Acropolis is, in my opinion, the strongest and most recommendable world wonder of all ones. The most impressive effect of the Acropolis is that it is still working no matter whether it's destroyed. I mean, if you have your Angkor Wat getting destroyed, no effect anymore. If you're having your Colosseum destroyed, no effect anymore. But if you have your Acropolis destroyed, nevertheless, the spawning and the increasing health bonus is still ongoing. So locate your Acropolis in that wise that all defender spawning buildings are that close to the Acropolis that they are glowing. So if you have your Acropolis once more outside reached, you can see both buildings are not glowing anymore, so the effect is not affecting them. If you have it more to this side, you can see all buildings are affected. And that's my intention why to place the Acropolis at this side. So in my opinion, we have talked about anything which is regarding this layout. I hoped I was able to give you some valuable information. If there is anything missing or you are wishing for anything more, just give me a hint down in the comment section. See you soon, your DomiNation tips.